Thor is an awesome character from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but how does he compare to the mythology? How does he compare to the Thor that started it all? So, Thor versus Thor, myth versus Marvel. Starting with the myth, Thor is a god in the Aesir belief of the Vikings. This belief was popular in the major Nordic cross countries such as Iceland, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, and Norway. These were once part of the Scandinavian region of Europe. He is a son of Odin and a brother of Loki. Back then, during the age of the Vikings, people used to wear necklaces shaped as a hammer of Thor. It was what they found as a symbol of protection, and more on that later, by the way. Less often attributes to his domain of control were thunderstorms. He also represented sacred groves and trees. There was a moment in the myth where Thor actually had to fight off the world serpent Jormungandr. Jormungandr was a snake child of Loki. Loki also had one more child. It was Fenrir, which was a giant wolf. By the way, Fenrir was modded. The name was modded into Fenrir by W Motors for the Fenrir Supersport car, the successor of the Lycan Hypersport with jump buildings in Fast and Furious 7. Let's get back to Thor. Thor fights off and kills Jormungandr, but then gets poisoned to death. I don't know what happens after that. I couldn't find any myth after it, or I was too lazy to, but whatever. Links if you want to read about Thor are down in the description. Now, let's talk about Marvel. You remember the scene in Age of Ultron where he picks up Tony Stark with his left hand with these? Now, Thor is right-handed, so this is like, nah, I'm just gonna pick this human up, this tiny guy, and just lift him up into the air.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Come on, use your words, buddy.
I have more than enough words to describe you, Stark.
In terms of his height, he's said to be like 6'6" in both the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the mythology. In terms of strength, he's like super strong. Some websites I found, they were like, they did like relative calculations based on the materials and stuff. So they said he can lift something around 3,600 pounds. Yeah, still he can face the Hulk and win. What do you expect? He's super strong. Hulk is considered to be the strongest in terms of brute force. In the Marvel Universe, he's very tenacious as well. You can see Hulk throw him around and ragdoll him the way he did to Loki, and nothing happens.
I'm just a huge fan of the sport.
And then, well, in that fight he uses lightning and beats Hulk. After Thor had his run-in with Thanos, he lost a Tesseract and the planet exploded. He just drifted in space. Either he doesn't need to breathe, or he can hold his breath unconsciously for a very long time. Also seems to be unaffected by the elements of space, you know. Other movies show that people are freezing, exploding, all kinds of crazy stuff happening, but nothing really happened to Thor. He is that tenacious.
Looks like we're not getting paid.
Wipers! Get it off!
How the hell is this dude still alive?
He is not a dude. You're a dude. This is a man.
Oh, Father's give me strength.
You understand, boy? You're about to take the full force of a star.
Mjolnir is the signature weapon of Thor, but did you know the hammer looked different in the mythology? While Marvel designed the hammer with a large, box-like hammerhead with engravings on the bezels and a cool handle, the actual hammer was like very different. It was considerably smaller with the magnitude of engravings on the large facets. A discovery made by archaeologists who were digging in the Lolland Island of Denmark confirmed the shape. They found cast bronze amulets that resembled hammers. The text "Hammer X is" was engraved on the sides, the big faces, which translates to "This is a hammer" in modern English, further proving the design. The hammers were dated to be over 1,100 years old and were worn by Vikings as a symbol of protection. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, one has to be worthy to wield a hammer. But this isn't true in the myth, as there was a time when Mjolnir was actually stolen. Here, listen to this. It was stolen, but then he blamed Loki, but finally found that it was a giant thermor of Jotunheim who stole it. It was because he wanted to marry Freya. So Thor disguised himself as Freya in this wedding gown to get his hammer back. They were about to get married when Thermer put the hammer in Thor's lap for good luck. And boom, Thor goes berserk and blows the place to bits. This story is in the Mythology. If you want to read about it, it's going to be in the description below, so check that out. The size seems to be a lot smaller than the Marvel version, with a much smaller head and a much shorter handle. Unlike the Marvel version, there are some examples of the hammer which seem to be entirely covered in engravings depending on which photo you find. In both cases, the power of thunder and extreme strength seem to be within Thor and not Mjolnir. And the hammer is something which Thor uses to focus or manifest his abilities. I don't know why Captain America was able to use lightning, but there was a saying by Odin, whosoever wields this hammer wields the power of Thor. So maybe it can work for a short time or something. Look, I don't know. I'm on the Iron Man side of Civil War, so I don't think too highly of Captain America. No, Stormbreaker was not real. It wasn't in the mythology. It was nowhere to be found. I tried looking for it, but it's not there. It just doesn't exist. The guys at Marvel created this. Like the Vikings used axes commonly as weapons. I think the Marvel team used this as a basis for the Stormbreaker. It's an axe. It was supposed to be an axe because the Vikings used the axes. All of the Asgardian elements in the Marvel movies had somewhat of a modern vibe to them. Thor's outfit in the MCU was pretty modern looking too. It was really futuristic if anything. It had large rivets and multiple pieces of leather like held together. The cape wasn't as realistic though. This is something I had to point out. The sleeves were this diamond stitch thingy. It looked like some sort of carbon composite. But the myth, it was totally different. For the most part, it was just a basic Viking attire with riveted leather, small rivets, and it's got a bunch of belts. The fur cape that the Vikings used was more realistic because in the mythology I've seen many photos of Thor actually having a more of a fur cape rather than, the Superman cape thingy. Some depictions of Thor had armor, but for the most part it was just basic. He was so tenacious he didn't really need armor. The Thor outfit that was used in the art for the Twilight of the Thunder God album by Mon Amarth was really cool. It looked pretty realistic. It's showing Thor versus Jormungandr. It was awesome. Thor made a bunch of appearances in other forms of media such as anime. In Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a card called Thor, Lord of the Aesir. There's one for Loki and one for Odin. There's a bunch of other Norse-based cards too. There's going to be a new video out based on some other characters, so if you like what you see, then subscribe and hit that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.